Stopped. Yeah.
Hello, good day, everyone. My name is Usave Abu. I am here to begin our good presentation by setting the stage for our research. Our case study examines systematic barriers for fixing micro enterprise in low income countries, especially for women in the rural areas. This business make up 90% of private sector in developing economics, yet struggle to grow due to three interlocked issues. Like we have the using the mechanics framework and secondary data for a reliable source like the microbank, like the World Bank. We aim to offer recommendations and drive uh, uh, inclusive economic development. So now we are going to start with the executive summary of our presentation. Our aim is to uncover the key barriers, educational, finance, and cultural equities that prevent micro enterprise from thriving. Here we are going to be talking about the uh, knowledge gap and inadequate training. We have limitations to access for finance. We have cultural and social constraints. Secondly, we also focus on the areas for interventions, education and skill development, financial inclusions and support mechanisms, cultural attitude shifts. We also have the goals to foster inclusive economic development by enabling the growth of micro enterprise through systematic change. Then we also have the analytical framework based on the Richard Remit approach, supported by secondary data from the World Bank 2021. We also have a pie chart here showing 70% of the female shares, like uh, the microloan receipts given by the NGOs. Here we also have this micro bar chart to illustrate the reason for microfinance loan with category like household, needs, and business. Other benefit that develop the educational and business. This slide illustrates a map and context indicating 50% of shares of microloans in South Asia. Other bars, other bar charts like educational breakdown by primary, secondary, and tertiary levels from women and men. This report focused on strategic importance of supporting micro enterprise, particularly those led by women in developing nations. Key highlights, the key points that was highlighted, the strategic approach, like from the reports guided by Richard Remit's strategic framework, emphasizing clearly problem. Focus here on the policy directions um, like the practical solutions for that will enable these women to grow uh, their well-being. Then we are talking about the importance, the importance to the to audience and research. The importance here we are looking at the slides. This slide is for the stakeholders. We're talking about the audience, the stakeholders, and the researcher, and identify the existing gap in current interventions. These stakeholders are the governments, NGOs, the investors. Micro enterprise account for 90% of business in developing economies, addressing barriers uh, they face that can unlock the GDP growth, and also reduce poverty, and also advance gender equalities. We also look at the way we focus to inclusive economic development, they align with the UN Sustainability Development Goals, and also the gender equality like the SDP, the SDG, that is the decent work. Here we also break it down to the education, like the training program. Uh, we also look at the finance, like the credit system, often including undocumented, the undocumented for that is cultural existing policy, trying to disregard disregard genders norms that restrict women mobility. Here we are going to move over to the next slide with my other colleagues. Shehad, you can take over there.
Yes, please change the slide. Hi, I am Shahri Aradhe. Now I am going to represent about some geographical focus which we are going to make a major impact on our geographical focus. There is a primary region and target group, which is rural sub-Saharan Africa, Nigeria and Kenya, South Asia, in which Bangladesh and Pakistan, in which women-led micro-enterprises in agriculture, retail and crafts. The next thing is the duration of the problem. It seems that 3 decades systematic exclusion documented since the 1990s. The rise of microfinance, which failed to address underlying inequalities according to ILO 2022. And the other defining the problems are educations and cultures and finance. When we talk about education, 50% of women in target regions lack formal schooling. And in finance, according to finance, 1.4 billion adults unbanked. And according to culture, 40 plus countries restrict women's property rights. Now we are going to discuss about research problem and background, in which it includes micro enterprises drive local economics. Over 90% of business are in low income countries, which are most of them are informal and crucial for jobs. Women-led business face step barriers, like over 50% lack basic educations. Their skills are limiting and business opportunities are less. According to widespread financial exclusion, adults globally do not have a bank account. Women are 20% less likely to access banking than. Now we are going to discuss about aims and objectives. Our aim is to report, explore key barriers, lack of education, cultural equality, limit the growth in low income nations. It aims to offer scalable data-driven solutions to boost economic changes of for marginalized groups, especially women. Now we are going to discuss about objectives to access how education, cultural effect using secondary data and Richard Remer's approach to drive inclusive growth through local and national micro enterprise plans. So that is all from my side. The next colleague of mine is going to discuss about it.
Please keep forward to the next slide. Data analysis. Hello. Yeah, it's all right. So, good afternoon, everyone. In this section on the data analysis methodology used in our study, we can focus. So, we applied a qualitative thematic analysis rooted in Richard Romlitz's strategic thinking framework. This approach is structured into three core components. So first one is a diagnosis, where we identify the root causes behind the observed challenges. So the next one is a guiding policy. So in guiding policy, we then develop a focused strategy to address these challenges. And finally, coherent action. In coherent action, proposing targeted actionable interventions. This framework ensure our analysis is both strategic and solution oriented. So in terms of tools, we employed several strategic instruments, including a gap analysis to understand the disparities. So a case study on M-Pesa in Kenya, highlighting how mobile financial inclusion can empower women. So triangulation to validate findings across multiple sources. And scenario forecasting to anticipate potential outcomes and policy impacts. Now, moving to the evidence base, we drew from international data sets particularly. So if we can see that in UNESCO 2023 highlights a pressing issue, rural female literacy remains critically high. Over 773 million adults globally lack basic literacy, and over 60% of women, more than half of rural women in developing countries are literate, creating insignificant barriers to economic mobility. So on the other hand, ILO 2022 points to the low of vocational training participation, particularly in low-income and rural areas. This restricts women's access to decent work and traps many informal or low-skilled jobs. So, keep forward to the next slide to the case study. So, in case study, we walk you through on Kenya's M-Pesa using Richard Romlitz's strategy framework. We begin with the diagnosis. M-Pesa operates in a context with systematic barriers, especially finance, literacy, and training. Rural literacy and culture norms are major challenges, particularly for women. The guiding policy then focuses on digital and financial inclusion, which aims to break these barriers by leveraging mobile technology. So our findings show that while mobile banking has a strong potential in low-income areas, adoption is limited by cultural and literacy gaps. Using Rommel's approach, we clearly define the problem, a vicious cycle where lack of education restricts financial access. So please keep forward to the next slide. So now we can focus on key findings. So let's look at the key findings from our case study using Richard Romlitz's strategy kernel framework, diagnosis, guiding, policy, and coherent actions. We begin with a diagnosis which helped us clearly identify the root problems. So the core issue isn't not simply poverty or lack of funding. Instead, it's a systematic cycle of exclusion, particularly impacting rural women. So here are some key findings. 50% of rural women lack access to formal education, and when 1.4 billion people are still unbanked globally, with women disproportionately affected. In over 40 countries, laws still restrict women's property rights, and the legacy of post-colonial economic models continues to keep informal sectors undeveloped. So the conclusion is clear. This is not a fragmented issue. It's structured, interlinked, and persistent, and it requires coordinated action to overcome. So this is all from my side, and furthermore explain my group member.
Okay. Good day. Please, can you help me with the slide, please? Thank you very much. No, please, can you take it back? Thank you. Yeah. Good day. My name is Chijoke Apa. I would like to explain. I would like to explain the Remind model application. This slide shows how the Remind model is practically applied to solve systemic issues affecting microenterprises by identifying evidence-based actions, inclusion mechanisms, legal and institutional reforms, infrastructure and financial tools, policy and governance strategies. Each problem is matched with a strategic intervention and a desired long-term outcome aimed at sustainable development and empowerment in the microenterprises sector. Please, the next slide, please. Thank you very much. Known versus unknown challenges in microenterprise research. This research, this research critically evaluates both established and emergent barriers affecting microenterprises growth, particularly within rural and undeserved contexts. The known challenges. Microenterprise development is persistently constrained by limited financial access, deficient infrastructure and services, low education levels, gender inequality and market exclusion, financial deserts, financial deserts in rural regions, World Bank, ILO, JAC, and SURI. These constraints are well documented and form the basis of structural underdevelopment. They also align with broader development discourses around inclusive growth and financial inclusion. The unknown challenges, more elusive or underexplored obstacles include applicability of models like MTESO across varying cultural and regulatory contexts, Donovan 2017. Sustainability of micro enterprise policies beyond initial implementation. Absence of long-term impact data following withdrawal of external support. Banerjee et al. 2015. These latent challenges require advanced policy experimentation, cultural adaptability, and enhanced longitudinal monitoring frameworks. Strategic rationale for addressing this issue. By addressing both known and unknown barriers, the study contributes to poverty reduction and inclusive economic growth, OECD 2019, increased participation of women, youth, and rural populations, UNDP 2022, robust evidence-based policymaking underpinned by adaptive learning mechanisms, OECD 2019. Slide 15, please. Okay, thank you. Conclusion, no, so please take it back, please. Thank you very much. Conclusions and findings. Root causes of microenterprise underperformance in Kenya. This study identifies multifaceted structural barriers impeding the growth of microenterprises in Kenya. One, we have limited education and training. Only 14% of micro entrepreneurs possess formal business training, with a significant portion lacking even basic education. UNESCO 2022. This hinders, this hinders business sustainability and innovation. 2. Restricted financial access. Access to credit remains highly unequal, particularly for women, who are 20% less likely than men to own bank accounts. FSD Kenya 2022. Then the third one, we have gender-based barriers. Gender-based barriers, deep-rooted legal and cultural restrictions in over 40 countries, including Kenya, disproportionately affect women's economic participation, contributing up to 30% in lost GDP. UN Women 2021, McKinsey 2020. Number 4, we have local success, global implications. Local interventions such as MTESO have shown promise in increasing financial inclusion. Jack and Suri 2019, reinforcing that scalable context sensitive strategies can achieve broader development outcomes. Then I want to speak on the final insights. Access to education and finance should be treated not as privileges, but as fundamental rights. A shift toward long-term inclusive and adaptive policy approaches is essential for structural transformation. Moreover, tackling these issues is directly tied to achieving SDGs, particularly Goal 5, gender equality, Goal 8, decent work and economic growth. Please, slide system, please. Uh, Sorry, no, you can take it back. Thank you. I would like to speak on the recommendations. The recommendation focuses on enhancing education, financial access, legal rights, and institutional support in Kenya to empower women and improve socioeconomic conditions. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm so grateful.
So, guys, we are done.